Took some time off last week to spend with my little dude who's almost 6 feet tall now. He's getting ready to go home actually here in a little bit, couple hours. And hug your kids. Hug your kids. I mean, that's the reality of what took place over the weekend. It was just this entire situation that I have watched unfold over the last 72 hours has been eye-opening, even for human beings to be as shitty as they can be. It has been amazing to see how amazing human beings can be. But it's also sad. It's also sad when it comes to how humans yearn to say stuff that is easily shitty so they can get some sort of reaction from people. And maybe they think this way, and that's a sad situation for them. But young kids died. Adults died. People did everything they could to rescue. You've got a guy named, I think his name's Scott Ruskin, former KMPG accountant who's now I think he was a endurance swimmer, and he's a Coast Guard lifesaver now, and he saved like 165 people. It's freaking amazing. But the only thing that people care about in the world of politics and the internet is who's to blame? Who's to blame? Nature. We have a segment on our radio show called Nature Will Mess You Up, because it will. Nature will mess that shit up all day long. What happened is nature moved into an area and stalled. And an area that was literally the perfect storm, where there was no topsoil, it was hard, almost concrete-like, and it flooded out because it parked itself there. And copious, as I've been saying throughout the day, amounts of rain came down in a short period of time that ended up being much longer than it was supposed to be. And when all was said and done, 100+ lives were lost. How did some people react? Well, they reacted awfully, because that's what they do. Because they want the likes, they want the clicks, they want the controversy. And I'm going to play some of it, not all of it. But the person here at the beginning, we'll have more of her, but she started it all off essentially blaming racism and don't feel sorry for these white kids camp, because this is a whites only camp, which is a bunch of bullshit.
You have carved out an all whites only enclave in East Texas for your white children. Yeah, I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that. Once again, this is no shade to the girls. I hope they all get found. But once again, y'all have to understand the climate that we're living in. They want you to have sympathy for these people. They want you to get out of your bed and to come out of your home and to go find these people and to donate your money to go find these people. Meanwhile, they are deporting your family members. Meanwhile, they're setting up concentration camps and prisons for your family members. And I need y'all to keep that in mind before y'all get out there and put on your rain boots and go find these little girls.
Well, first,
others.
Bullshit about all of that. That's a bunch of bullshit. Whites only, a bunch of crap. Don't worry, there'll be more coming with that. This lady's all about the skin color, because that's all apparently it mattered. As if, I could tell you this right now, if this would have happened and it was a camp for kids from Mexico and Central America, and this would have been flooded out, Trump would have been blamed for it because he controls the weather and whatever. And, you know, and if whites would have went and saved it, this guy, Scott Ruskin, would have went and saved a bunch, it would have been white superiority complex. These people see only race, and they love to talk about race, and that is bullshit. These were young kids. I have a 6-year-old, soon to be 7-year-old, hearing the stories of these little kids drowning who had no chance. They were supposed to be living their best little lives. They were supposed to be out there having the time of their lives at summer camp, learning about God and having fun. And within hours, it was over. And somehow, this became a race issue, of course, for some people who only see race.
And maybe y'all weren't the best of, helping thy neighbor unless they were still or the same as you. Because I find it ironic that it was the deep Southern of Texas that it happened to. We knew back in the days where they used to do everything deep down in the subterranean. So hopefully this changes and open up a whole lot when it comes to treating people as equal. Okay.
What the hell are you talking about? Nothing. You just want to get likes and clicks and shares. You want people to talk about you and the controversy of it all, because that's where we live now. We live in a moment where say stuff ridiculous, get likes and clicks. That's the thing that matters. Do you know how easy it would be to hammer these ass hats? Do you know how easy it would be? That's the lowest hanging of the fruits, if you will, to do. This person here, it ratchets it up a notch, just says it, celebrates the fact that these little girls and boys have died, that these people have died, because that's what everybody deserves, apparently.
I'm going to say it because y'all scary as fuck, and I don't give a damn. Them little girls, them people died because of racism, not politics. Boom, I said it. I don't give a fuck. And am I sad? No. Nope. Because more YT people will have to DIE in order for motherfuckers to what? CARE. I said what the fuck I said. I don't give a fuck, and minds are here with me. We voted the correct way. You reap what the fuck you sow. Just the night before the flash flood happened, y'all were okay with motherfuckers being stripped away from their motherfucking families and never seeing them again. People being deported. Y'all were okay with that. Be okay with not finding Sarah Lou. Be okay with not finding Billy. Be okay with never seeing them again.
Scumbag. But you wanted that. You wanted the likes. You wanted the clicks. You wanted the controversy. You wanted all that. So easy to do, to create that. That's the worst of humanity. And it's not even genuine for the most part. The Democrats came out today. Well, this is about Doge. They cut stuff. Actually, that stuff wasn't going to go into effect until October 1st. There were 5 people that were in the weather service area that were meteorologists instead of the 2. There were alerts that went out Wednesday, Thursday, into Thursday night, into early Friday morning. But they need to find a fix. We're a reactionary society. What's that mean? We react after a tragedy has happened. We react after something bad has happened. Go, okay, we can't let this happen again. What can we do to fix this? Because fixing it early, we're not thinking about that. That could cost money that maybe we don't have or we don't want to spend because it hasn't happened before. So why think about it if it hasn't happened before? So that's what we are, reactionary society. What's going to happen now? They're going to go down in the hill country. They're going to go down into Kerr Valley, into the river, in the Guadalupe and the areas, and they're going to start to do. They'll set up radars. They'll set up things that will send triggers that will send off probably horns or alarms that people can hear, because up there, it's a little sketchy when it comes to your phone. So we'll react in that way by trying to fix something that we didn't know really needed fixing because, well, you've got your phone and you should know about this and you should listen to the weather side of stuff. That's what we'll do here. But politics is politics, and it ain't going to stop. And it came right out and became politics within hours. And here we are a few days later. And even Ted Cruz, who at times, I get on Ted for being a little snarky and the smartest man in the room, is very genuine in this.
I think this is not a time for partisan finger pointing and attacks. Now, after we come through search and rescue, after we come through the process of rebuilding, there will naturally be a period of retrospection where you look back and say, okay, what exactly transpired? What was the timeline? And what could have been done differently to prevent this loss of life? And that's a natural process. I think it should not happen in a bitter and partisan sense, but it should happen in a reasonable sense of saying, what lessons can we learn?
Exactly. What lessons can we learn? Well, we know a lot of lessons. We've got technology like never before. It's actually pretty inexpensive, putting in certain things here that can help in the future and making sure that, you know what, people also have to heed the warnings. I was talking about it today. I mean, how many times, we've heard the sirens. What does everybody do when there's a tornado? They all kind of want to run and look out the window, right? Or people who will wait I've been through 1,000 of these hurricanes. I'm not going anywhere. Nothing's going to happen to me. And they'll stick around because they think you have to heed the warnings as well, but you have to get them. And some people said, we didn't get any warnings or we didn't have any cell service. There needs to be a better way of doing these things. There's no doubt about that. But the reality of people wanting to play politics, this is just the new world we live in. And the new world is simple. Play politics first, say it, scream and yell it as loud as possible, blame the other side no matter what it is. And I saw several people today said, well, the Republicans did the same thing towards the fires and towards the floods in North Carolina. I said the Republicans didn't blame the disaster on the Democrats. They blamed the actions after the disaster had happened and the cleanup and or lack of cleanup and doing the things they were supposed to do, not the actual, well, it was Trump because he did this, which hadn't happened yet. Well, there is a difference between the reaction of something and it was your fault that this happened, because there was a lot of that. And unfortunately, we're going to see a lot more. And yes, if a year from now, National Weather Service is a disaster, floods are smashing in, things that we had caught before, we're not catching, hurricanes are destroying everything, and we're not seeing it, then you know what? By all means, let it be heard. I'll be the first one leading the chorus of what is going on. But that isn't this moment. That isn't this moment at all. This moment became about how can people politicize the death of young people, young kids, and blame it all on the other side, or blame it all on Trump, or blame it all on race, which is sickening. It is. We have something, the internet, which allows people to be assholes in a major way all the time with zero repercussions. People aren't afraid anymore to be fired. People aren't afraid anymore for so many of the things that you would think at one time they were. They welcome it. Why? Because it gives them more clicks, more likes. The lady that started all of this off, I'm not going to give out her name, but she was super excited about all the attention she's got, even though she's pretending she's not. Why? Because she's answering the questions to all of this. And some of the stuff that she said, again, it just goes to show you, this is about a reaction and what can I get people to do and how can I grow my, whatever it is, shock brand.
Y'all caught the fucking news on me?
I want you to read what she also wrote at the bottom. So this girl says, girl, you brought this upon yourself. Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequences. And she says, consequences for what? Maybe it was God's will to wash away them little C words, which is just, again, say the most obnoxious thing that you could say to get a reaction.
I wasn't going to post anymore, but I think it's really funny how my little voice and my little 7,000 followers has garnered enough attention to where y'all want me to make a public statement. And I gave one. I definitely gave one. Wouldn't have been my first time having a news interview. If you look up my name, and I'm sure y'all have seen it, I have, tons of news articles written about me and the work that I've done. So, okay. She asked me for a statement. I gave her one. And I told her what it was. And I think that this is like, on one hand, it's definitely funny because I'm over here kikiing for sure. But do not negate the fact, all right? These are white people using their white power, all right, to try to bring me down, I guess. But the fact that it's just not working is even more hilarious. Y'all have called Princeton. Mind you, my fellowship with Princeton was 2 years ago. The work that I did is already done, and the money that I've been paid has already been paid and spent. So that's done. So reaching out to them is doing absolutely nothing. I mean, you're just making your fingers sore, typing all the letters. And when it comes to our Houston Food Insecurity Board, I'm probably going to make a separate video about that because I got a few choice words for Mayor Whitmore. Again, y'all called the mayor's office. I have not been on the Food Insecurity Board since January. So, again, you've done nothing but make your fingers sore.
Yeah. Well, you got what you wanted. And that's what people want. Somebody just said JMP, I don't know. I've seen the worst posts from MAGA supporters. Trust me, I have too. And they get sent to me on a daily basis sometimes. Thing we're going to talk about next, I got hammered for earlier. Because both sides now want to do what? They want to be the loudest. They want to be the most extreme. They're not interested in real conversation dialogue because on the internet, you can say things for the most part with anonymity and without fear of any kind of real retribution. And in doing so, you know, you're also going to your tribe and saying, look what I did. I posted something that was this or this. Look at me. You guys should love me. This is what my tribe should be proud of me. Sorry, not in this. Somebody said, who do you think wins this? And I said, you know who didn't win? The little kids and the people that died. You know who didn't win? The people in Texas. You know who didn't win? Americans today. You know who didn't win? Humanity. That's who didn't win. Nobody wins this at all. Meanwhile, we pivoted from there to what was, to me, kind of funny. I wake up this morning and I'm up early and I see Cash and I see Epstein. I thought, oh, they're releasing some stuff. Well, kind of, sort of, but not really. They're telling the world, hey, nothing to see here.
Caroline, the DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable. And I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
That's transparency, but it's not enough. MAGA, people want to know, well, what the hell happened? How did this guy, who nobody's really sure how he became a billionaire, who got off with a slap on the wrist, who had connections, it seems to be some of those powerful people in the world, how did he die in his cell and the cameras weren't working? All of a sudden, you've got the cameras and you got the footage and you got the 11 hours before, but who was in the cell with him? We didn't see any. It was never going to be enough. And somebody asked me, do you think Pam Bondi, do you think that she's corrupt or she's incompetent? I said, she's probably none of those things. I think she's very competent. I don't think she's corrupt. I think she's an order taker. And all I've heard is CIA, Mossad, MI5, MI6. Well, if it's the Mossad, we're never going to see any of that stuff. If it's the CIA, they burned all that shit because they're not like the FBI where they keep stuff. But are you sure there's nothing more here? Are you sure, Carolyn?
Sure.
Caroline. Okay, so the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime.
That's great, but that's not what MAGA cares about. And a lot of people, look, I'm not a big conspiracy guy. I think a vast majority of stuff, it's like Occam's razor. The simplest answer is probably the answer. Do I think this guy was caught up with a lot of people and that he was absolutely targeted to go after some people? Of course. Do I think it is everything that the right wants to make it out to be? Probably not. And is it everything that the left wants to sweep under the rug and say none of this stuff ever happens? The right makes it all up. That's also bullshit. He was able to operate for decades with impunity. And they did say they had a list, and they did say all kinds of things. And you have a right to ask these questions. But you were never going to get what you wanted out of this, because no matter what you got, it was never going to be enough, or it was always going to be a cover-up. People are, I said this today, still waiting for JFK and everything to come out. Everything. Still waiting for RFK to come out. All of the Martin Luther King. I mean, everybody's waiting for everything still. And where's the damn UFOs? All right. How about those things? Huh? All things that are fair to ask, that people were promised, and they weren't delivered. Not the way that they want. And it wasn't going to make them happy today knowing that this is what they got. Because even if it's 100% true, that will not silence the people who think everything's a conspiracy. Trump got the big, beautiful bill passed last week. Quick touch on that. Some of the stuff we missed because we were off a few days and my son was here visiting before he goes home here in a little bit. Do I think it's going to be the big, beautiful bill of amazement? I have no idea. Do I think some people are going to get kicked off the Medicare rolls? Yeah. I think some of that's going to happen. Do I think it's going to be this? And this is the way I phrased it today. The right wants to make you seem like that everybody who's on these rolls is a 250-pound guy, sleeps and eats inside of his mom's basement, plays video games, and will never get a job. And the left wants you to think that everybody on these things that's going to lose their coverage is a 26-year-old disabled woman with a child who's got a disease. The reality is it's very clouded. Some people are going to get caught up in the wash, there's no doubt. But a lot of people that are able-bodied can get out there. And the way that they're going to spin it is they lost. They lost this. They were told Medicaid it wasn't going to go anywhere, right? They was told none of this stuff was going to go anywhere. And yet it did. And why did it go somewhere? Well, because, some of these people need to get jobs. Well, they got 2 jobs, but they don't have enough to pay for this. You're going to find that. It's going to be a lot of what's in the middle, because that's where a vast majority of people are living. There's no doubt, though, that, I've said it. There's a lot of pork in this. A lot of people got something out of it. We should all be more than just a little frustrated. If you cared about the actual debt itself, this wasn't it. It wasn't. And Elon has every right to be pissed. He does. And he wants to start his third party. And, one thing I've talked about when it comes to a third party, you don't need to win 40 seats in the House and 10 seats in the Senate. 3 or 4 seats in the Senate and 10 in the House changes everything, especially when things are this close. The uniparty, he jokes about his spending, but that's the reality of it. Everybody loves to spend other people's money. Everybody loves to spend the dollar bills, and they love cuts as long as it's not the cuts to things they like. And so look at the first 3 years. That's the only thing that matters in this bill, because after that, regardless of Trump and whether or not, the likes of, Marco Rubio or JD Vance take over, the fact is these things could change. There may be stuff in here that they didn't like and that they'd like to move out. They may have a whole new Senate and all of those things can change. But you got to own this, Republicans. This is you now. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that is going to raise the debt, and we're going to see more spending, and the cuts that came, should have given it to the middle class. The rich don't need the help. They don't. We'll see. If you pay for it because it goes sideways, it'll be next year in the midterms, and then it's a sprint for the last 2 years for Trump. But hopefully things go well. But we won't know until it actually is put into play and we see it in reality rather than just on a piece of paper, or this study said this, or this study said that, or this study said this, because studies are studies, right? Like a lot of people have them and they're not always good. And quite frankly, like a-holes. Everybody's got one and sometimes they're stinky. Just putting that out there. All right, wrapping it up. Fun tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow. A little bit later time tomorrow. My son's getting ready to take off. He's heading out to San Diego after being here for about a month or so. So I just wanted to jump on, and a whole new fresh week of chaos and craziness. Follow along. First of all, like and subscribe, Chad Benson Show TV. I'd appreciate it when you do that. Share. Check out our ChadBensonShow.com if you want to find out where my radio program is playing. 6 to 9 Pacific, 9 to noon Eastern on a daily basis, Monday through Friday. And you can also grab the podcast. You guys have a